Welcome. So I'm outside right now because there's a few empty spaces in my garden beds that I need to go ahead and finish planting out, and then my garden's gonna be 100% planted, which is exciting. So I'm gonna take you along with me to do that. Also, my name is Cheyenne. I garden in Phoenix, Arizona, zone 9B, in my backyard. So if that's something you're interested in, just keep watching and let's get planting. Okay, over here in this first raised bed, I need to plant out this empty space right here, which is going to be bush beans. There was onions growing in here, but I went ahead and removed those, so I need to go ahead and plant that out and then also finish mulching it. I left one onion in there so it can go to seed, and it's so cool. Okay, so in this bed, I'm going to be planting the dragon tongue bush beans and then some contender bush beans. In this area, I had onions, so the soil level, since I didn't get to refresh this part of the bed when I refreshed all this part, since there was onions in here, the soil level was down, so I did already go ahead and add compost. And I'm also going to be adding right now some worm castings, azomite, and granular fertilizer, just to make sure this spot has enough nutrition, because I'm pretty sure it got depleted from the onions growing. So the first thing I'm gonna add is some worm castings. I use this one in this bag. I'm just gonna sprinkle that in there. I use any granular fertilizer, but I have this Doctor's Earth right now, so that's what I'm going to use. And I just add this to make sure the NPK is good. I always go ahead and refresh my garden beds about 2 times a year, and I had already refreshed this one, but my onions were still over here, so I wasn't able to refresh this side. But I always go ahead and refresh my garden beds about 2 times a year, just when we're in the transition periods from cool season to warm season, and then again the warm season crops to the cool season crops. And then throughout the year, I just go ahead and in the planting hole, I will add the granular fertilizer. But like I said, 2 times a year, I'll go ahead and add worm castings. I'll add the granular fertilizer throughout the whole bed, and then I use rock dust, or it's azomite. So it's just called rock dust. It's just like a powder. And all this is, it's just a whole bunch of different minerals. And then I'm just gonna mix that in. And now this area should be, well, it will have enough nutrition throughout it to grow whatever I want. Alright, now that that's done, I think I'm gonna do half of this bed with the, oh my gosh, half of this bed with the contender bush beans, and then the other half, the back half, I'll do the dragon tongue bush beans. Out of contender bush beans though, so I was able to get 13 of them. So I'll go ahead and cover them up. Okay, and then I guess the rest will be the dragon tongue bush beans. Go ahead and cover that up. And I need to go ahead and mulch this area, but I think I'm going to wait a few days until I see the bush beans start popping up, and then I'll go ahead and add the mulch, just because I don't want the mulch, it's pretty big, and I don't want it to give these beans a hard time to come up. So I'm just gonna have to make sure that I'm out every day, making sure the top few inches of this stays moist. Okay, now that those beans are planted, this bed is 100% planted out, which I'm happy about, because this year I really want to try to have all of the spots in my garden bed full and growing something, because I always tend to have bare spots in my garden beds, and this year I just don't want that. I want to try to use all my space throughout the growing season. So this bed's done, and I'm excited to see it once it starts growing. It should be super full. Beans on this part of the bed are bush beans, and then in this part I have cucumbers over here. They're the Space Master. Some cucumber over here. They're gonna go up these tomato cages, and that's the beta alpha cucumber. Behind the cucumber right there is a dwarf sunflower, and then we have 2 gray zucchinis up here, and then the acorn squash right there with the little marigold. And then over here in this bed, this is the other bed that I need to finish planting. So I have my pool beans right here, which are already starting to climb the netting, and I think they're starting to grow faster because I had celery all through the middle and it was blocking the sun. And then this celery I left, and it's starting to flower, which it's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to save seeds from that. Oops. Sorry. But yeah, so throughout the middle there was celery, and now there's nothing. So I think I might sprinkle some zinnia seeds throughout the middle of this bed. And because in the front I think that's there's basil. So there's lemon, cinnamon, basil, and then an Emily basil, which is similar to the Genovese basil, except it's more compact. So I know those basils are gonna get pretty big. And then I have 2 marigolds right there. Over here I have 2 tiny Tims, and then over here I have 2 other dwarf tomatoes, so you can see it right here, and then there's another one right back there. So anyways, with the basil, I know those are gonna get pretty big, and I think if I just sprinkle some zinnia seeds, that will fill this whole bed out really well. I wanted to show you guys something real quick. So over in that garden bed that I just showed you, I am gonna be planting the middle part of it out with zinnias. But I wanted to show you guys, I finally grew a zinnia. It's the first zinnia that I ever grew, and it's so pretty. And I'm gonna put the same type of zinnia seeds over in that bed, and hopefully I can get more, but let me show you. It's super pretty. Okay, so look at this zinnia, you guys. It's looking a little bit rough just because it's older, but this is the first zinnia I have grown, and I love it. It is so pretty. So this is the candy cane zinnia, and that's what I'm going to put over in that raised bed in the middle. And then also over here, I'll show you guys, these are the chitapine peppers, which they were looking pretty rough, but now they're finally starting to grow, and I think they're gonna do perfect over here. So all those are chitapines. And then I did cosmos, and these are so pretty also. And then there's a little sunflower right here. I don't know how that's gonna do because it doesn't look that great, but I'm not worried. And then I put more sunflowers over here to supply. And so I think these are supposed to be like the really big ones. So we'll see how that will do. But I thought it'd be cute in between the peppers to have some big sunflowers. Okay, so in this garden bed, I'm gonna do those zinnias that I just showed you. They were these candy cane zinnias. These are so pretty. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna kind of scrape back the mulch a little to put the seeds, and then once they come up, I'll add the mulch back. Down to make sure they have good contact with the soil. And once they start coming up, I'll go make sure I space them good and I don't have too many. Because like I said, these basils are gonna get pretty big. Okay guys, well that's the garden. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Okay, until next time, bye.